Howdy folks, I thought I'd document the installation of this here Waeco WAC2600 rooftop air conditioner on my Heimer. It's the non-inverter version and it's like higher power than their lower spec one because it's 694, so it's like 7.5 meters or whatever. So I needed a bit of a bigger one. I didn't get the inverter one because I'm not made of money, and it comes like the package you buy consists of this box and this one, which has like the sort of the, I don't know what you call it, the air distributor inside the vehicle that you know has a control panel and such. So I have already done one step. The first thing I did was remove, it's going here in the above the bedroom. I removed the existing skylight, which was pretty straightforward. On the inside here it was this part, I mean take down the fly screen and whatnot, and then it was just 4 screws here, here, here and here, and then 4 more were in the centres here, 1, 2, 3, 4, and they just act as little clamps. So that came straight down, and then the next step was to remove the top, and I'll get up there and show you that. Okay, so here's the top. First part was undoing 4 screws to take off the actual skylight kind of lid. That was dead easy, just 4 screws, no problem. And then what I did was just run a Stanley blade around the outside where it was bedded into the roof, just all the way around, Stanley blade, and it came up very easily. It's quite easy. And the stage I'm at now is I have to basically clean up this hole, because the sealant on there is horrible tacky stuff. I mean, obviously it needs to be bedded on, so this wouldn't work. You know, it needs to be, it's probably going to be the hardest part of the job, I imagine. Stripping all this off and making it nice and clean and ready to be reseated with butyl. That's what the instructions call for. So that's what I'm going to do now. Right, so tools I have assembled. Kitchen roll, some masking tape, that's going to be for when I reseal it though. Some good old rubble sacks, steel wool, white spirit, Stanley knife, a stripping knife, and probably a filleting knife. Just cheap things from B&Q. That should hopefully do the job. Let's see. Alright, so I think this should be relatively straightforward. Yeah, that's not going to be too difficult. I mean, I suppose it's going to depend on what type of sealant has been used to bed your skylight on, but whatever mine is seems to be coming off okay, so just going to be a case of taking your time with it and getting it nice and clean. Okay, that's like the bulk of it off. It came off in great big stringy bits, and that took literally a minute. It's going to be a bit slower for the rest of it, but I can't see any difficulties really. Let's see how we go. Okay, so I'm actually dealing with 2 different types of sealant here. I've got this grey stuff here and this black stuff. So, just a second. White spirit is absolutely the right stuff for the black stuff. Here we go. Watch this. It just sort of, it's a bit messy, but it gets rid of it really, really easily. But it's not touching the other stuff. So I think what I'm going to do is just go round, get all the black stuff off, and then come back and tackle this grey stuff. I think the grey stuff's going to need still scraping, you know. It is a bit harder, but it should come off. You can pick it off with your fingernails, so it shouldn't be too bad. Alright, that's all the, I think it's butyl off. Nice and easy with the white spirit, and now I've just got to get all the rest of this grey stuff off. This is like a more like modern silicone, I think. I think it's because there was 2 types, because they'd actually sealed this roof light shut. It must have been leaking or something. This is a new van to me, so new, you know, I don't know. But yeah, time to get that off. We'll go from there. Alright, that's everything taken off. The only concern I've got is in some places I've exposed, like I've gone through the top layer and exposed this shiny metal, which I think is alley, so I'm not too concerned about corrosion. But maybe I'll cover that up after. Yeah, I was still using white spirit after I've got the bulk of the silicone off, and it cleared it up a bit. But yeah, it's nice and smooth and clean, so I'm going to move on to the next step. Okay, first little bump in the road. The next step is to put this kind of, it's like a gasket, like a manifold between the AC and the under panel thing, right? So it's two ways you can fit it. If your hole is 400 by 400, then it goes this side up. It says there 400 400 this side up, or 360 this side up. Now I'd assumed that this was a 400mm hole, but it's actually 390-ish. So the 400 one won't actually sit in how it's supposed to, but it will with the 360. But then I don't know if, like, I don't know if that's going to work. I need some thinking about it. We'll see. Right, so I've given this a good coat of looking at now, and I think it's going to work with the 360 side up. And just for reference, there's like a direction to it, so that's arrows pointing to the front, so that's right. Now it's got one of these foam gaskets on underneath, and it's in contact with the roof, so it's not hanging anywhere. So basically what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to try a dry fit. I'm going to mount the AC on top and put the unit underneath, and they get pulled together with 4 screws set to a specific torque, and that's what creates your seal. So I'm going to see if it will do that and everything fits without putting any butyl, any mastic on it, and if it works then I'll take it off and I'll mastic it down, if that makes sense. So here we go. The thing's quite heavy, so it's going to take some manhandling to get it up here. Okay, lifted it up here, although I definitely recommend you have 2 people help you with that, because it is unwieldy. And I can't tell if it's lined up properly, so I'm going to go underneath and see if I can lift it that way. Right, I've managed to kind of move it into position, and you need to line up 4 screws on the top unit with the gasket. It's quite hard to do because it's sort of unbalanced, and what concerns me is that you're going to have to do this again when it's been when it's been sealed down, and you'll be moving the gasket around, so you need to be accurate. What I'm going to do now is get the bottom unit, offer it up, and see if it clamps down all right. Right, here's the bottom unit. I'm sure there's a proper name for it, I don't know what it is. Need to pop off this cover, which exposes, yeah, so there's the 4 holes where I'll be joining the 2 units basically, and the good big strong screws. I don't actually know if you go from the top, no, it has to be from the bottom up. Yeah, so there is a proper torque setting. I don't have a torque wrench, so and it's plastic, man, so I'm going to be taking it easy and just nipping it up a bit. But yeah, I'm going to offer it up, get some screws in, and hopefully we'll discover that this is a working solution. Let's see how we go. Okay, major unforeseen problem. This unit looks like it will go up okay, but it is blocked by the sliding door thingy compartment thing, so there is actually a little bit of room where I could maybe move that back, but for now I'm just going to take that down and put up with it without a door. Okay, so divider is down. It was about 4 screws on the rail, about 5 screws on the one side of it, and then there's this trim which was another 4 or 5 screws, so pretty straightforward. But now I've got to find a new home for that at some point. Okay, back to where we were. Okay, so I've offered it up and I've tightened the screws a fair bit. It's got this sort of foam gasket and it compresses down a long way, and I haven't done it all the way yet, I don't think. And like I say, I don't know, I haven't got a torque wrench, so I can't do the correct torque, because you might have to really, maybe it works sealing by really squishing it, but I've answered the question, I think. Is it going to work? So I'm happy to take it down again and then bed it on properly. The only other thing is you're supposed to connect the power lead by chiseling out a bit of the side of your roof profile basically, but I think I can get away with I'm not going to do that. I don't do that. I'm going to feed it through. I'll show you in a bit. Right, okay, so there were cables coiled up here which I've just pulled down. There's 2 of them. One's for the power, presumably, yeah, live, neutral and earth, and then the other one I guess is to connect to this unit somewhere. Yeah, there's a there's a connector there. The instructions called for you to chisel out some of your profile, but actually there's already a bit chiseled out, and I wonder if I can't use that. and bring it through there. So I'm going to have a go at that. But it's onto the roof now, and I'm going to bed this thing down properly. Right, I'm a bit confused here about what I'm supposed to do. The only part of the instructions that mentions the ceiling, it just says butyl, and it has it applying to the underside of the frame, right? Which would be, the underside for me is going to be that side. But it looks a bit different in real life. It's got this foam gasket, and there is this kind of channel which looks like it might be for the sealant, but it's on the inside of the rubber sealant, whereas on the other side it's on the outside, and it's not a smooth surface here. You'd think if they wanted you to apply sealant that would be smooth, and it's not. So I'm thinking, does the butyl go on the inside of the foam gasket? Seems a bit odd. And then I was thinking, well, maybe I'll put it on both sides, but that sounds, I don't know. These things are tricky. So, not really sure what I'm going to do. Okay, well, the instructions are crap, but I think it's meant to be on the outside, because I think some parts of this foam aren't even necessarily hanging onto the roof itself, and I think inside that would not be, you wouldn't be sticking it down to anything, if you know what I mean. So I'm going to go with the outside. Wish me luck. Okay, I've sealed it down and placed the unit on as best I can. Now I'm hoping I can go inside and kind of readjust it. We'll see. Okay, that was actually a pretty good shot. What I was trying to do was get the screw holes lined up to the holes in the frame, and I'm almost there. Yeah, very close, just need to come back a tiny bit. Right, so it's on, and the unit is connected to the plug, and then I've got the mains power hanging down. It says in the manual 2.5 Newton meters as a torque setting, and I actually found my torque wrench, but it doesn't go anywhere near that low. It doesn't sound right to me. 2.5 newtons, that's nothing, isn't it? So not sure what's going on there, but it's up. Yeah, I guess it's just kind of suck it and see now, really. I'm going to put the cover on, wire it up and give it a whirl. Okay, moment of truth. I've wired it up a bit temporarily just to see if it works. It made a beep when I've just plugged it into a socket. Power. Mode. Okay, set it down to 16. And oh yes, it's really hot in here, by the way, and oh my god, that's nice. Wow. Okay, so the only thing that remains really is to see whether the thing leaks. Hopefully it won't, although I have to say personally I don't have the best of luck trying to bed down skylights and whatnot, but we'll see. Any questions, let me know, thanks. Right, it is about 15 minutes later, and I've left the thing running, and it is, yeah, noticeably cooler in here. And when you're stood right by it, oh my god, that's nice. I didn't really mention it in the video, but when I was up on the roof, the reason the towels were there was because the checker plate was red hot, and it was really, the sun was beating down, and it was really hot inside the cab as well. I was all sweaty and yeah, out of breath, but yeah, it's lovely. It is quite noisy, but I expected that. I think probably most of them will be. I'm going to do a permanent job of that bit of wire in there, because that's just shameful bit of electricianing, and then I think I'll just get some trunking, and it just goes down to a plug below the bed there, which I assume is fine. Can't see why it wouldn't be. So yeah, pretty good. A much needed upgrade for my last trip around Italy and France. It got up to 41 degrees in here, and I just can't sleep in that, so yeah, very happy. If you've got any questions, let me know. Cheers. Okay, it occurred to me that maybe some of you wanted to know, maybe it would be a problem for you with how noisy it was, so I've actually switched it to the lowest fan speed at the moment, and it's, yeah, much quieter. I don't know how effectively it would cool a hot van at this speed, but I'll turn it up a bit. And it quite gently kind of increased its fan speed, and then up one more. And then finally full power. There we go. Yeah, and it's got different modes. What's the? It's got a dehumidifier, I guess that is. I think that's a heater. I'm not going to bother with that. And I don't know what that one is. And automatic, I suppose. And then night mode. All kinds of gubbins. Anyway, hope that helps.